What's up, y'all? My name is Ian Edwards, and welcome to the Soccer Comic Rant. If you're watching, you're probably watching this on YouTube. If you're not watching, go to YouTube, Ian Edwards, Ian Soccer Comic Rant Edwards, and you could watch the podcast. You can also listen to it on iTunes and at allthingscomedy.com. Allthingscomedy.com has a plethora of comics that are from the Comedy Store and all over California. As a matter of fact, all over the world, who their home is California, most of them, and they podcast off allthingscomedy.com. Bill Burr, Al Magical, Sam Tripoli, Bobby Lee, Bert Kreischer, Tom Segura, names go on and on. So go there and check out all the podcasts and on allthingscomedy.com. The show sponsor is also onthevolleyapparel.com. Go to onthevolleyapparel.com, and there's tanks, hoodies, t-shirts, sweatshirts for men and women with hip-hop soccer logos on the front of them. Use my promo code Comic Rant and get 20% off. And go there, get some of their shit. And they also outfit your local soccer team, but I don't know if anybody's playing right now or they're just watching. If you just want to dress nice, go to onthevolleyapparel.com, get some gear. And got some co-hosts for this episode. Lee Hudson, comic from England. What's up, Lee? And Southampton fan?
Yep, unfortunately.
And Martin W. Harris, Spurs fan, 442 journalist, actor, comic, voice of video games. He's doing it all. Polish.
An American.
He's American. What else can I add to it? Everything. And I also like to thank our producer, Aaron Brungardt, for putting this together this week. So what's up, y'all? How was the first week of the weirdest Premier League season since last season?
Both our teams lost 1-0 this week, so
yeah,
we're both pretty depressed.
Have Neil on. I said, I want you guys to have a support group for losing 1-0 together. And then it's funny. It's like I'm watching All or Nothing. Like I didn't finish the last episode. I'm like halfway through it, but I'm like watching it, and then I'm like, oh, this is a good coach. He just needs his players back, and he got his players back. And then you go up against Everton, which I told you, Martin, would be a tough game. So it's not like you just lost to Everton. You lost to an Ancelotti team. He played his 3 new buys who are experienced players. James Rodriguez, quality. Alan even played better than him, right? Was a defensive midfielder. Like he was just all over the pitch, and Decore did his thing. And what was the problem with Spurs? Is it an effort problem? Because I keep seeing the same thing in the documentary. First of all, last week, Martin, you told me that since Mourinho joined the team, what was his record? He would have finished fourth. But I'm watching the documentary, and before the break and into the break, it's just all losses and maybe some ties.
Yeah. Although the 2 losses were.
Is that how bad the rest of the league was?
No. The two major losses in the last All or Nothing. The 2 major losses were against Leipzig in the Champions League. Then was the loss against Norwich in the FA Cup. And actually, since pandemic, they won 5 out of 8. So that was a pretty good record overall. 5 wins, 2 draws, and 1 loss to Sheffield United. So that was giving reason, because he had his almost whole team for those 8 games. That was giving a reason for optimism. And what I saw, obviously, it's a production, and I should have known better, being in Hollywood for 10 years. Obviously, it's in a production, and it's a production set up to kind of make him look like a hero a little bit. But that also kind of gave me a hope that he really controls this team better than he does. And I did underestimate Everton because they were terrible at the end of the season. They were losing almost every game. So I did little bit underestimate them. I just didn't think the new guys will be playing at that level so soon, and I didn't know that Tottenham will play arguably the worst opening game I've seen as a Spurs fan. I've seen some games as a Spurs fan that I'm not proud of. This was probably the worst.
Yeah, there was no intensity. Like, I saw the Everton players walk the ball out of the back. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the Spurs players just watched them like, oh, that's a nice pass. Go ahead, let's see what you could do. Nice. And I was like, no pressure, nothing.
Mourinho's been quite vocal, hasn't he, in the press afterwards about the lack of intensity out of possession. He's called the players lazy.
Yeah, but I think it's also the way you set up your team. You know, like you can clearly see some problems that I don't know if he's going to fix now. I mean, he has to address those problems. You don't, if you don't start a game with a single creative central midfielder, then that's the result you get. You play, so what I call wing-sing, which is playing the ball to the side or to the back. So they were doing a lot of wing-sing in this game. And then unfortunately, you know, because pretty much Everton controlled the game, right, with the passing. So Spurs were trying to counterattack, which is a weird tactic for a game like that. Why don't you put one creative guy in the middle? Just put one creative guy. They can't play together, Højbjerg and Wings, because none of them is creative enough.
Yeah,
they only play one of them, and then if you put third guy on top of that, then it's a wrap.
Yeah, he won't risk. You got Højbjerg and Winks, and then in front of them is Dele Alli, Lucas, and Son, but no one to get the ball to Dele Alli, Son.
Yeah, but with Dele Alli, this is
Kane.
And I see it on the documentary. Sorry, I'll just finish Dele Alli and I'll let you both guys go. Because, it's been a kind of emotional Sunday because I've seen so many things that annoyed me in this game. Dele Alli, the documentary kind of shows what the problem is with Dele Alli, especially the conversation Jose Mourinho has with Dele Alli, telling him, hey, what kind of player you want to be? You don't want to have regrets once you finish your career, you know? Mm-hmm. And he's kind of smiling like a little boy. But Mourinho told him, hey, you go up and down. You can play a good game, then you play a bad game. Then you play a good game, you show up, you don't show up. You show up, you're so inconsistent, you know, between the words. He has her behind the words, that's what he says. And Dele Alli showed the bad side. That was the bad side of Dele Alli, where he was passive, or he didn't really try hard, where he didn't really add much to the team. And he had such a huge impact in his first 2 years with Tottenham. But listen, that happens to some players, that they start at the age of 18, 19, 20, 21. They're very, very promising, huge talent, and it never kind of goes to the next level. And then they slowly diminishing. I hope that's not the case with Dele Alli, but it could be if he doesn't wake up from that.
Is that why you're trying to trade him to Madrid for Gareth Bale? Is that true?
No. With Gareth Bale, it's actually both of us. It's United and Spurs trying to get him on loan. From what I saw today, that's the news. You know, it's both United and Spurs trying to get Gareth Bale on loan for the rest of the season. But I don't mind selling Dele Alli. Maybe that's it. Maybe that's his highest point that the Spurs is behind him, and he needs maybe a new team to take a step forward, and maybe that's the solution. I don't know. Maybe
how long's he been at Spurs?
Since we started this podcast.
He's like a relationship. Like, you date a girl, first year, like, oh, this is good. Second year, this is good. And then it starts to fade in the third year. But then you like, well, the first 2 years are so good. Like, I'll hang in this year to see if we get back up. And then it doesn't. But you're like, it's still 2 good years compared to one bad year. And then you're like, let's go into this fourth year. And then the fourth year don't get. So it's not until probably, depends on how fast Spurs pulls the trigger, you have to be like, all right, this relationship is over because we're even in the amount of good years and bad years. Do we like wait another year to see if this person's going to want to, like, are we going to get along? Or is the person going to try harder?
I mean,
or do we just
he didn't have like a bad year. He didn't have a bad year. I mean, it's just he raised the bar.
2 disappointing years.
You know, he didn't have a bad year, but the most frustrating thing with him is that he was growing to be a really special player, like potentially one of the best players in the world in the first 2 years when he was only 19, 20, 21. And then just he didn't go to the next level. He just did it.
He's been inconsistent the last 2 seasons.
It's been inconsistent. It's a lack of progress, lack of growth. And he looks in the documentary in several scenes like this happy-go-lucky guy, prankster, you know, tattoos, nice jewelry, enjoying life, and it's too soon, too early for that. It's too early for that, you know. He looks like Rocky Balboa at the beginning of Rocky 3, and then he got his face smashed by Kabler, right? And he had to change his philosophy. Maybe Dele Alli needs to change his philosophy. Maybe they need to get rid of him, and maybe that will force him to change his philosophy because he looks too happy with himself, and it's too soon.
I just remember trying to talk Martin out of telling me 2-3 years ago that he's not the best young talent in the world. Like Martin was like, he's the best. I'm like, he's all right. You know,
he just didn't work his game enough.
How could he not work his game on a team where there are players definitely trying to work his game? Like I see Son trying to improve. Like I could see where Son improved. I could see where Harry Kane is working on his game. Like there might not be other players, but to me, I feel like his main relationship is with those two guys. So why wouldn't he progress with the guys whose names he's synonymous with? Like he must be especially resistant to improving.
Yeah, I mean,
to not grow with those guys.
You're a young kid. I follow him on Instagram for a while, not anymore. He likes to have fun. He likes to enjoy life, and he's making a lot of money. He got famous, you know, early in his life. He came from fourth league, became famous instantly, and maybe it's just not in his heart. You know, sometimes to be a great player, you need to be constantly hungry, and maybe he lost his hunger. Maybe he's just satisfied with what he has.
So he's your Lingard.
No, he's not that bad.
What's the word in England on Dele Alli, Lee?
Same. People just think he's not kicked on. He's not fulfilled the promise that he showed. And you know, he was unreal the first couple of seasons there, but he's just not doing it.
Right.
He's out of the England team as well.
Yeah, he didn't get called up this last time.
I think he's in the squad. He just didn't play.
Right.
And it's disappointing because Mourinho, you can see even from the documentary, that was his personal project. And he played very well. First couple of games when Mourinho was the coach, he was actually the best player on the field. Mm-hmm. He was the best player against West Ham. I think he scored like 5 goals in first 5 games under Mourinho. And then that click that he has in his head went in the opposite way. And this performance against Everton for 45 minutes was terrible. He was the worst player on the field.
And he got pulled, right? But
yeah.
it feels like when Mourinho pulled him, he just put players in that were in the bench. It's like there was no thought into replacing the people he pulled.
Well, I think what the problem was that he saw that Everton are dominating the possession and that they're just outpassing the Spurs and just dominating the game from the playmaking standpoint, and Dele Alli is just running and doing nothing really on the field. So I think he just tried to get more passing, but it didn't work out. So, and the problem is also the 2 guys we bought. I hope they will start playing better. I hope with Doherty was just a conditioning thing, because we replaced Aurier with Doherty. I was hoping that Doherty will be the guy who will be pushing forward without making mistakes. Aurier did, because Aurier is a better talent than Doherty, but he's just so irresponsible, and he reads the game so poorly at times that he makes those mental lapses. But I thought that Doherty will be overall solid. And in the second half, Richarlison was just embarrassing.
Right.
Embarrassing.
I mean, that Richarlison almost goal where he shouldn't even have taken a shot. He shouldn't even have taken a shot. He should have passed it to Calvert-Lewin.
Mm-hmm.
But how he beat... Who did he beat to the ball? The ball was passed inside by Davies to, was it Alderweireld or Dyer? And how does Richarlison just, he's like, there's no way that Everton player can get that ball. Why is he even running? And then he not only gets the ball, gets past Lloris, and he just Richarlison being Richarlison, just being too greedy. But I guess that's the epitome of the game, like his effort compared to the Spurs' effort, and it especially when Spurs were in a press position, but they didn't press; they just stood up. That was kind of crazy. They just watched. They were like cones on the field in the second half.
Yeah, no service to Kane. Lucas Moura, very disappointing. I mean,
I think he was working his ass off. He was one of the few people.
but he's just not producing, and he was very good in the season we went to the Champions League final, but last season he was not really that good. And this game, I don't think he created danger. I think I wouldn't play him the next game. I would start someone else.
Is he playing in the right position?
It's a good question. They put him in so many different positions because of injuries to other players. That he kind of doesn't know what his role in the team is anymore.
Yeah, because they just plug him in.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to think like when I first saw him at PSG. The same thing with Aurier. Like, here's an Aurier tip. When I first saw Aurier at PSG, he was a midfielder. Do you know that? Not a back. He played on the right side of the midfield. And he was amazing. And he went forward. And then PSG decided to drop him back. Because it's funny, like, when you're a back and you can go forward a lot, it's like Bale, then they'll just make you a forward, like Sterling. You know what I mean? And then sometimes if you're a midfielder that has an engine, they'd be like, oh, let's make him a back, you know? So maybe you all should, I think Aurier has talent. He should be on the field. Maybe he should play in front of Doherty. And it'll help defensively and give you some engine in the midfield. Like you know Aurier as a defender, but he's not really a defender. Like, you're not really who you are until some coach gives you that position for a long time. And then even after that, it could change because Valencia, Ashley Young, like, changed positions. So it's like what is really everybody's position?
What about Sissoko?
I think Sissoko is a midfielder that had learned some offensive intelligence, but he's also can grind. He's physical. But to me, based on the documentary, your boy Mourinho would like Sissoko if Sissoko played like Dyer and had no interest in ever crossing the half line. And
that's why he signed Højbjerg.
yeah, stay like there he bought the scarecrow Højbjerg to just stand in front of the defense and just, you know. What do you think of how Højbjerg played? You say he didn't play.
Very uninspiring performance, but I hope it's just the first game and he's still learning because they didn't have much training time. You know, it was everything was so fast, you know, between the end of the season and starting new season and short vacation. So I hope it's just the first game like that because otherwise he'll be unplayable. You know, Ndombele. I mean, Ndombele because
let's stay on Højbjerg because you know what's crazy? Lee Hudson is a Southampton.
Yeah, I want to ask.
And he's watched seasons of Højbjerg. So what did
Lee? Please help me.
What did Spurs buy? Did you guys rip them off, or did they get a deal, or is this an even deal? Like,
help me out.
I think the thing Martin was saying was like you can't really play him with wings because Højbjerg for us was his main goal was just to win the ball and give it to the better players. Like that was his role. He was just he was a midfield worker. He'd get the ball and just play the simple passes. If you've got him and Winks both just playing little passes that go nowhere, you're not going to progress the ball up to the forwards. Yeah,
you're keeping pressure on your team. Like, what if the other team? What if the other team presses you? Then you can't even get out your half.
Yeah, but Lee, the question was, should I have hope about Højbjerg or I shouldn't?
Yeah.
If he's used correctly.
Okay. Yeah.
Lee, do you miss him?
He fit into our system.
Right.
Okay.
But when you heard they were going to sell Højbjerg, Lee, were you like, oh, not Højbjerg, or you're like, yeah, Højbjerg? Like, how was it?
I was sort of indifferent. Like, as long as we replace him, because we're really short in centre mid now. We've got Romeo and Ward-Prowse, and that's it. So we need to sign a replacement. If we sign a replacement, then I'm fine with it. But if we don't, we'll miss him.
Here's a question, because we bought a guy like that before from Southampton in Wanyama, who is now in Montreal. By the way, scored his first goal in the MLS last weekend. Is Højbjerg better than Wanyama, or at least as good as Wanyama?
Nope.
I think he's a better footballer than Wanyama, but he's not. He hasn't got the same presence.
Are you just trying to? What type of an answer is that, Lee?
Wanyama was a better ball winner. Højbjerg's a better footballer, in my opinion.
I think Wanyama's just better, period. But that's just my opinion.
You forget Højbjerg was Pep's boy at Bayern as well. When he first took over, he was like his personal project at Bayern. So he saw something in him. There's something there. And he's done well for us for a few seasons, but he was used correctly. He was played in a system that suited him.
How much did he play for Bayern? Because I don't even remember him.
He played a few games. Pep threw him into a cup final against Dortmund from the start in his first season.
Did he win anything with Bayern?
Yeah, he was there for Pep's first season, and then he got loaned out, I think, after that, because his dad died, and his dad died, and he went through a lot of stuff.
Oh, okay. All right.
I saw some quotes from Montreal players right now who play with Wanyama. They say they haven't seen anybody that strong physically in their lives in terms of football players. Apparently that you just cannot push him out. When he's putting yourself on your back, there's impossible to move him. So maybe that's the thing.
Maybe you're right, Lee. Maybe you're spot on, because you're like he's a better presence, but Højbjerg's a better footballer. But I don't think Højbjerg is that good of a footballer. Maybe that's the thing that's stomping me. So maybe that's why I don't think this is such of a good of a deal that Martin thought this was. And I'm like, and I told you that. I was like, I don't see it. Like if Man U bought Højbjerg, I'm like, what the fuck are we doing? Like, I'd be upset. So Spurs, you should be, as a Spurs guy, like looking for the top quality players. You can't get Højbjerg and be like happy. You're Spurs.
Well, yeah, but sometimes you need it's a old football proverb. You need a guy to play the piano, on the team, and you need also guys to carry the piano for it,
Yeah, but you got plenty of people who can pass the ball laterally on your team.
Yeah, it was more about the physicality and this fighting spirit.
Then keep Wanyama.
Yeah, Wanyama is old. He's in Montreal. He's in the right place right now.
How old is Højbjerg?
He's like 26 or something, 27.
Hey, man, how much did you pay for him, Martin?
20, 25?
Hey, man,
I think it was 18 potentially rising, because he was in the last year of his contract.
Yeah, he was cheap. Same with Doherty, both cheap.
That's the thing. It's like you replace you get an 18 million pound player. Like, how much of a boost is that gonna? Like, that's like some young player you buy to put in the academy for like a year or so that can come into the first team and then develop into this wonderful career. It's like, to start for Spurs, that's crazy.
I think what Mourinho's seen as well, that he's a good. He was our captain until he said he wasn't going to sign a new contract, and then took it off him. But he's a good leader. He's a good presence, and Mourinho. He puts mentality. He puts the mentality above a lot of things.
Yeah, that's why he brought Joe Hart, who has no chance of playing, but he likes his locker room presence. And Ian, we both watched the documentary.
Yeah.
Clearly, this locker room needs some presence.
Because they made Winks the coach, and if you thought like pre-game speeches couldn't get worse after you saw Harry Kane and Lloris, like Winks just like so they basically, he bought a bunch of TEDx speakers, players like.
I think like you lost a leader in Vertonghen as well, going out the dressing room. So you need to bring in some leaders.
It's like somebody who can give some good Braveheart speeches. Yeah, I get it now. Like, Højbjerg's tough, and he's a better speaker than Lloris. All right, I get it. All right, so hopefully, all right. I would just say, bruh, Mourinho, just make Sissoko the captain. He can talk to the players. You all right, Lee?
Yeah, I think the drink went down the wrong one.
All right. Well, I got one more question. You was going to say something about Ndombele. Martin, I was watching him in the documentary.
It cost us 70 mil.
60.
Yeah, almost 70 with all the bonuses, which
He's never make those bonuses the ways.
hopefully the bonuses will never be paid. But
you want them to be paid so that he'll play better.
Yeah, it doesn't work. No, I think he will go on loan probably in the winter, because it's not working out. Clearly, Mourinho doesn't think he's the right fit. And when he went on and lost the ball 3 times within a minute, I mean, come on, what are you doing?
Yeah, I couldn't tell if it was him losing the ball or Sissoko. They're built the same. All right.
Now, there's a clear difference between them. The one who didn't lose the ball was Sissoko, and the one who always lost the ball.
That's hilarious. All right, so who you got next week, Martin?
I think we have Southampton next week, as a matter of fact.
Holy shit, yeah. So
and we will beat the crap
coming down to us.
Well, before we get into these threats, Lee, let's talk about your game, Southampton versus Crystal Palace.
Yeah, it wasn't great.
What happened to the Hudson press, the high line, the energy, the enthusiasm, the attacking of the other team like wolves and ripping them meat up their carcasses apart like a pack of coyotes? What happened, bro? I didn't see none of that.
Well, the thing is, Hassan Hutz even said himself, we play best. He calls it playing against the ball, so playing without the ball. He wants to press. But Palace just sat off us. We had 70% possession. We don't do well in those games. We actually play better against the big teams.
Right.
Better against teams who want the ball because we can then counter press and create chances. But we didn't have the creativity in the final third. Palace's keeper played well as well, Gaeta.
Yeah, he did.
So we had the chances, but we just weren't clinical. We need a bit more depth in the squad as well.
How do you like Bednarek so far, the Polish centre back? You think he's improved? You think he's a solid?
Yeah, he's solid. He's one of our first choice every week. He's a good player. We've got another option as well now, Salisu, we signed from Valladolid, left-footed centre back, but I don't think he's going to be. Hassan Hutz said he's probably not going to be in the team until October. So I think Stevens and Bednarek are the 2 starters for us at the moment.
Yeah, I'm looking at these stats here. You guys had the ball. It's fun, so funny. So you guys only got one style. So you have to, or Hudson has to create some options if you guys get the ball. So you got to work on some other things. You got to branch out offensively and style-wise this season.
Yeah, we need a bit more creativity in those situations where a team wants us to have the ball and just sits off us. So our game plan only works against half the league.
Yeah, you got a half the league style. A lot of people, most teams just play one way, and then with slight adjustments. And it's funny. I've just never, because you guys are effective against teams like Man U and a lot of the big teams that I watch. I never thought of how laying off you guys and giving you the ball could affect you.
Yeah,
but
if you look last season, we beat City at home, we beat Tottenham at home, we beat Chelsea away, beat Leicester away, beat Sheffield United away. We suit those games, and then we play average teams like Palace, and we had nothing.
It's pretty indicting, though. Aren't you worried about that?
Yes and no. I think we'll be okay. I don't have any huge expectations. Just as long as we're not in a relegation battle, I'll be happy. If we're just mediocre, mid-table, I'll be happy.
Because you were technically third in the small table for the last 8 games of the season for the pandemic table. So you were pandemic bronze medalists in the Premier League. That's pretty encouraging, that's why I thought you're going to be a solid mid-table team. Remember those 2 seasons, and I'm going to ask you that about your opinion of that. I remember those 2 seasons where Southampton finished, I think, 7th and 6th or 7th and 8th. I don't recall correctly. I think one season for sure you finished 7th, and the other one was either 6th or 7th or 8th.
Yeah. That was Pochettino's last season and Koeman's first season, I think.
Exactly. So what do you see different between those teams and the current team? You know, because technically you have a goal scorer like you had before in Ings. You have Redmond who kind of can be very dangerous if he's on his game. Solid overall. What do you think is different?
Just haven't got quite the same quality. Like, we've got a goal scorer in Ings, but if you look at the team back then, like Koeman's first season, he had Van Dijk and Alderweireld as centre backs. I mean, that's pretty fucking solid.
And Mane, right? And Mane was on the team.
Mane as well, yeah. It was a lot more of a dynamic team, a lot more quality, I thought.
How do you feel like as a Southampton player, like looking at those players other places and winning stuff? Like, how do you feel?
I'm used to it. That's football.
That's football. Yeah, I guess even Man U has to like live like that too. Like, we've seen Ronaldo and just other people just go off and win Ballon d'Ors and all that type of shit. So I guess that's just football. Period.
I'm realistic. I know there's a sort of ceiling on where we can get to, and where we can keep players up, a point where we can keep players up until, and then they'll go somewhere bigger. We're never going to be a big name. We're never going to be a Champions League team.
Say never. Leicester, like 20 years ago, if someone says that Leicester will win the title in England, you know, never say never.
It's unlikely to happen again.
What do you think about the league, just period, before we even get into the other games? Like, what's the difference besides Corona and the no fans? Like, I guess last week we didn't even talk about who did we think were going to like finish at the top. Like last year, distinctively, just at the beginning of the season, I knew it was going to be tough to even get into the top 6, because there seemed like there was like 6 to 8 teams that could cause a lot of problem, which is more than normal. And I you know, like you have to look out for the Wolves, you have to look out for the Leicesters, and then the Sheffields came out of nowhere. And then you expected Spurs to do good, Man City, Liverpool, Man United, Chelsea. So this is like what's your frame of the league now compared to like last year or even just more years ago?
I think City and Liverpool will be the top 2 again.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've sort of got that pack underneath where you'd expect United, Chelsea. I think Arsenal will be in that group this season.
Yeah, for sure.
Tottenham, if they can find some consistency, will be in that group as well.
Nah.
All battling out for 4th. If they sign Bale, who knows?
Yeah, I mean, we don't know what type of Bale they get. Like, I haven't seen him play in so long.
He's probably better at golf than he is at football right now.
Yeah, maybe that's the word. Like, even when I see him play for Madrid, I don't know if it's because of he knows they don't want him there, and it's not even that he's done as a player. It's just that's just a tough situation to thrive in. So I don't know what you're getting.
I hope he will bail us out. I hope he will bail us out.
Thing is, I think I kind of find the Real Madrid attitude to him a little bit disrespectful, because he's a guy who's won like multiple Champions League. He's scored in the finals of multiple Champions Leagues as well. You know, he's given them some of their best years. He's given them some of his best years of his career as well, and they seem pretty ungrateful for it, which is crazy.
Although it's
I agree.
So it's, you know, they have this attitude, you know, listen, you know, we can do whatever we want. We're Real Madrid. We don't have to be grateful to anybody. It's everybody has to be grateful to be on our team. I think that's the attitude you have when you're Real Madrid. You know, it's like, you know, like, for example, Comedy Store, right? As a comedy club, you know, all the best comics want to be there. So they're not going to ask anybody, because everybody wants to be there. The same with Real Madrid. You know?
So you're saying the Comedy Store is the Real Madrid of
yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. So, you know, it's like you have this attitude. For example,
which club is Barcelona?
Yankees.
Which comedy club is Barcelona?
Which club is Barcelona?
Which comedy club is Barcelona?
It has to be a comedy club I don't like. Because I like Madrid.
Yeah.
But here's the thing about Bale, which gives me hope about Bale, because he had an option to go to Inter Miami. I know they wanted it, and he didn't go there. That means there's still some ambition that he feels like he can do something in Europe. So if he actually comes to Spurs and helps us win a trophy, that would be great. You know, because he is a trophy winner. He knows how to win. He won so many times at Real Madrid, and he was actually a crucial player on those teams. He didn't go to Inter Miami. Inter Miami went to spend money. They got Gonzalo Higuain today. So now they have Matuidi and Higuain. So they wanted Bale. Instead, they got Higuain. So the fact that Bale still wants to compete at the highest level gives me some hope.
How old is Bale? 30?
31.
31? I still kind of wonder, I like the fact that he didn't want to go to Inter Miami. That shows that he still has some fight in him. But also, he's when he went to Real Madrid, he stepped up from Real Madrid, from Spurs. And he knew that. So you had to get into that, right? Physically, mentally, and go to meet the challenge. Now, when you go to Spurs, you're not stepping up to a challenge. You're actually kind of disrespectfully, and not trying to be disrespectfully, but it's going to probably come up disrespectful. You're kind of coming back down to earth, where you're used to breathing without the use of apparatus. So why would he give the Real Madrid effort that you're hoping that he gives at Spurs when he gets there? Why would he do that?
It's just, it's a combination of things. It's the same with Dele Alli, just a completely different situation that you need to change the team to produce. You know, there's a certain limit. It's just, like in relationship, you said, first 2 years wonderful, but there's a moment when it's just not working, and you're not gonna fix it. You have to move on and find a different relationship.
Where do you think he's gonna play? Say he comes, where is he playing this team? Does he start?
I think he plays right left midfield.
Yeah, he plays. It will be him and Son on the side. Laura would be the one to move somewhere else, or probably or started on the bench. Dele Alli will be another one in danger of losing minutes. It will be Bale, Son, and Kane. The three of them playing together.
Bale, Son, and Kane.
I think Bale will have a point to prove as well, because people are just sort of, especially Real, have written him off now as a player.
Right.
And I think he'll have a point to prove there. And maybe he feels like he has unfinished business at Spurs as well.
Listen, I'm all for it. All for it.
But he also goes to Spurs knowing that you don't have to give as much as you did at Real Madrid to make Spurs fans happy.
Not necessarily, because there's such a hunger for winning something that actually there will be expectations, where in Real Madrid it's probably easier to win trophies than at Tottenham. So it will be actually a difficult task. However, I still think that Europa League is up for grabs. I think we can win the Europa League for sure. FA Cup is always a lottery. It's one game, so I don't know. We're not going to win the league. Of course, we're not going to win the league, but I think we can win Europa League, and with a little bit of luck, maybe one of the cups. Maybe. I don't think we'll finish top 4. I think we can
you don't?
Top 6. No, I don't think we will.
But if you don't finish top 4, should he get fired, Mourinho?
If he wins the cup and Europa League and finishes 5th, no.
No, okay.
But you have to be realistic. Other teams spend millions. Chelsea spent millions.
Only Chelsea spent money.
Oh, they spent 200 million already, or what? 250? I don't know.
I mean, it's you're raising a number. It's 200 mil.
I mean, for Havertz, they spent 90 mil. Then they have Werner. They have Ziyech. They have
Thiago's free.
Chilwell.
Yeah, Chilwell. Thiago. They're buying goalkeeper now.
Yeah, Mendy from Rennes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, only Chelsea's spent a lot of money.
No, United and City
we bought one guy. We got one guy, bro.
Yeah, but you spent a lot of money last year as well, and you probably will buy somebody else. I think it's not the end of your buying.
I mean, hopefully not.
It's competitive at the top. It's really competitive. I think
it is.
Those 4 teams, Liverpool, City, Chelsea, and United, are ahead of us at this moment.
Right,
Arsenal, slightly behind us probably.
I don't know if Arsenal's behind you guys anymore.
I think slightly, they still slightly are because they'll have their problems. They're very thin as a team.
I think they're loaded, man. I was like looking at them, and there's so many players that they didn't play this weekend that start, like Sacco wasn't out there.
They played Fulham. They played
So
Fulham.
what?
They played Fulham.
Yeah, but that's what, here's a funny thing. That's what Neil said to me. Like after I said, look how Arsenal did. Yeah, but they played Fulham. And then I watched
He's the hater of
Chelsea.
Willian.
Then I watched Chelsea struggle against, who did they struggle against? Brighton.
Yeah.
Brighton had more possession, outplayed them. They just don't have any quality to put the ball in the back of the net. So it's like, you can't just be like, oh, they only played, you know what I mean?
But there is only
Arsenal were really good against City in the Community Shield as well. They still played the ball around them the same way they played the ball around Fulham. And if you think like Arteta, the job he's done with players like El Neni as well, turned him into a different player.
Yeah.
And just the firepower in the team, like I think he could do something good there. I don't think they'll be quite top four, but I think they're going to be more of a problem than they were the past 3 seasons.
I think they have a better chance of getting to the top 4 than Man U. This is why, because they have depth so many places, especially in the midfield. It's like so much.
Not defensively.
And going forward. So what?
Not defensively.
Not defensively.
Defensively, I think they've improved. Like Saliba's not even
exactly
on the team yet, and he's a good player. Gabriel, who they signed, is decent. I mean, United wanted him as well. Holding looks better under Arteta as well.
Yeah, it's like, so like you said, it was just Fulham. But before Fulham, it was Liverpool in the charity. They play Liverpool in the Charity Shield, right? So they beat them.
Yeah, sorry, and they beat Man City in the cup final, didn't they?
They beat Man City in the cup final. They beat Chelsea in the other final, right? So it's you can't just say it's just like these games were just a few weeks ago with the same coach getting these players in. So I don't know, man. I'd worry about Chelsea more than I did before this podcast. Now that I think about it, I mean Arsenal. I think Arsenal is going to be pretty dangerous because there's something. It's something funny. Like when I watch Mourinho in the documentary, he's saying the right things, but for some reason he's failing to make this team a team, right? So, and I feel like when I look at Chelsea's personnel and Arsenal's personnel, there's similar problems. So, but Arteta's going in there and fixing those problems without even much changing the personnel. Or he has, but he's got it from the most unlikely players, like from younger players, when people would normally go out and buy some people and fix the problem. He's like getting them from the youth academy and fixing it.
He look good as well. That's a bargain for a free transfer.
Well, here's the thing with Arsenal. The trophies they won, they kind of changed the narrative a little bit.
Who?
But it's the trophies they won. They won the cup. That changed the narrative. Arsenal.
Yeah.
Because it's different to judge someone who comes after someone unsuccessful. I mean, Arteta came after Emery, who was unsuccessful, and Mourinho came after Pochettino, who was successful. So it's a different barometer. Because technically Mourinho had more points with Tottenham better ratio of points since he became coach of the Spurs than Arteta since he became coach of Arsenal. They actually were pretty average or poor at times under Arteta in the Premier League. They finished 9th, 8th last year. Like they didn't really do that well in the Premier League, and they lost to us. They lost the derby. So he's judged by winning the cup. He won Charity Shield, sure. He beat Fulham. So let's wait a little bit because it's just winning the cup and winning Charity Shield.
It's just you'd love those things. You're Spurs.
Yeah, I would. But to make it like
it's a success.
No, I know. But to talk about a consistent change that they're gonna change into a contender.
But Martin, I'm witnessing the change. It's like when you could feel momentum growing. Like that's how I feel when I look at Arsenal. When I look at Chelsea, like when I look at Man U, since Solskjaer got there, he started off on fire. Then it slowed down in the middle, and you're like, what's going on here? And then he made the buys. And then you could see the reason why he made the buys he buys. And then the season is still not going well. But even for me, I'm like, well, what's happening on the field should be happening because that's what he bought. And then when he got Bruno Fernandes in and Pogba back, and then gave Greenwood a chance and starts giving young people chances, and then the team, then you can see the progress. Even though we haven't won anything, you can see the progress. With Arteta, I can see the progress. With Mourinho, I see ups and downs, and maybe you're a little bit better than Pochettino. And even though you're only a little bit better than Pochettino, I think you still have a better chance of winning something like the League Cup or FA Cup than you probably had a chance of winning with Pochettino. But I still think it's not good enough. You know what I mean? Which you've agreed with kind of before. So at least you gotta, I mean, maybe you don't want to admit that you can't see the progress of Arsenal.
I want to see more because I see progress in the way they play. I don't see progress with results in the league, except, as I said, it's just only one game.
3-0 Fulham.
3-0 Fulham. Last year, they didn't really have results.
Willian, 2 assists if you ask the Premier League, 3 assists if you use your fantasy league.
Yes. Willian definitely, that's why I wanted to have Neil on this podcast today, because he's a well-known Willian hater for no reason, really. It makes absolutely no sense because the guy won 2 titles for him as one of the key players. Willian, if there was one reason to be afraid of Arsenal, it's Willian, because he is really a perfect fit with this team. He really played very impressive today. Very impressive. He's a very underrated player for, I don't know why, some people don't give him credit as they should, because he's one of the best players of the Premier League in the last 6 years.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. There's this other Chelsea guy I follow on YouTube. I just started following him. And he's all about disrespecting Willian and talking about his deficiencies in the same way that Neil does, sorry. And I'm like, like it's almost like, so there's Chelsea fans, probably the majority. I don't want to speak for them, but it's surprising when I meet Chelsea fans who they mourn the loss of Willian as little as Lee mourns the selling of Højbjerg. You know what I mean? It's fucking crazy.
He gave him credit. He gave Højbjerg some credit. Neil is not giving William any credit, so it's a huge.
I know exactly. So I don't.
It's a strange one though, because you look at Willian, like he's got a great range of passing. He creates chances. He's great on set pieces. He's a goal threat as well. Mm-hmm. He's experienced. He seems like a good character as well.
Right.
I don't know why they would just be happy to let him walk to a rival.
I think the thing that Neil was telling me, like if he plays in the front three, and then you're like watching the league every week and you see Salah, Mane, and Firmino, but you're not even like counting him as the Firmino guy. Like you're not even, and he's playing more, like nobody shits on Firmino. They know he tracks back. They know he gets them the ball and he feeds the forwards and then he scores some. But nobody's like shitting on Firmino's numbers. But for some reason, Chelsea fans won't look at the work Willian is doing defensively. They just look at the goals he hasn't scored and feel like he's a big disappointment. But I just see his effectiveness. So I don't know about that one. I'll always be in a disagreement with Willian haters.
And I agree with you 100%. I'm a huge Willian fan. He was almost a Tottenham player. We brought him from Ukraine, and then Mourinho stole him from us. So I wish he had. I wish he had played for Tottenham those years when we're chasing championships. I wish he did. Mm-hmm. He didn't, but still, it's almost like the same situation that happened. Actually, he pulled the same thing twice because they also stole Pedro from you guys, from United. Pedro was supposed to be signing with United, and Chelsea stole him. So they're a bunch of thieves at Chelsea. But we'll get to Chelsea later.
All right. Let's talk about this. Did you hear me?
Yeah.
Did I cut out?
Somebody did cut out now. I hear you.
I think it might be mine. I can hear you though.
So what did you guys think of the Liverpool versus Leeds, the greatest 4-3 game in the history of football without fans?
Well, Liverpool will have problems. Liverpool will have problems. You can see them. They look like they're not hungry anymore. Yeah, they look like they're very spoiled as a team. They're kind of arrogant. You know, sometimes they misplace pass, misplace a kick here and there. Van Dijk, what he did in the second goal was pure arrogance. You know, but you have to give him. He's a class, and he's scored a goal. But you could see like a little bit of that arrogance and that they won everything, and maybe they need to find a new motivation, because otherwise they'll have problems with hungrier teams like City, like United, like Chelsea.
Yeah, go ahead, Lee.
So I say, like, I think Bielsa's Leeds is probably the worst team they could have faced on the opening day, because they had that hunger, and they're a hard team to press as well, and they come and press you too. I think Liverpool probably would have preferred to face someone that would have just sat off them, that they could pick off, rather than a hungry Leeds team. That first game back in the Premier League, they had a point to prove and wanted to just go at them. But yeah, Liverpool definitely seemed a different team when they were chasing that league title that they hadn't won for years.
I just want to say something about Leeds first. Like, it's a great first game back. My issue with Leeds is you can't have 3 players, same height, same complexion, with samurai man buns on your team at the same time. It's like having 3 players wearing the same number. You can't tell who fuck is who. Like, there was Phillips, and then there's Ayling, and then there's a guy that scored the goal, and I'm just
Harrison.
Yeah, and I'm just confused. I'm like, so is this the same guy or a different one of the same guy who did that? Like, it wasn't until like match of the day, and they and just watching multiple replays, like the PL replay, they give you like a 10-minute thing of each match. Then you go, oh, okay, that was him when that happened. That was him when that happened. Phillips looked good, and he had a lot of room in the middle of the park. Like, I love, what's the guy from Match of the Day that used to play for Spurs? He was just on with Micah Richards. Jermaine Jenas. Let me tell you something, man. Jermaine Jenas has got to be the best analyst in football. Like, the shit that he does on Match of the Day, even on the same show or different episodes with different guests, they have the same apparatus, but I've never seen anybody break down a game or the way a team plays the way he does. That guy is just absolutely amazing. I don't know how he's not a coach. But like, one of the things that he showed was like the Leeds would put 5 people forward. Like, he'd put 5 people level with the back line of Liverpool. Bielsa would do that. So then the midfielders would pull back to kind of help their defenders, and it'll open up the middle of the field for Phillips. So when Phillips gets the ball, he can turn in any direction comfortably because there's nobody around him, and then find a pass. And then if somebody did put pressure on him, he still would know where one of the 5 players ahead of him was going to run to. So Jermaine just highlighted that. It's like, oh, that's how we got that space. But it's an interesting way to play. We'll see, like, teams study you, and we'll see how Bielsa adjusts throughout the rest of the season. But I do think 2 of those dudes got to lose their man buns. This shit is confusing. And as far as Liverpool, like, they cutting edge, man. Like, they made mistakes defensively. They reminded me of when Klopp first got to Liverpool. Like, I feel like I've seen those 4-3 games before. But it reminded me of when Van Dijk wasn't there. And before, I think everybody's lost a step. I think everybody's hungover from winning the championship. I think their keeper is not as good as he used to be. I think Van Dijk definitely has lost like just desire. I just think everywhere, the only place where the competition might keep up just because they got that heated thing between Mane and Salah, like that the forwards will keep probably scoring. And then like, but I don't think this Liverpool team is going to be as strong as last year. It's not because they didn't buy anything. I just don't think the desire is there. Like, they won, you know? And then at the end of last season, I was like, is this indicative of how this season is going to start? But I feel like, I said, let me wait till the season starts. Maybe I still have to wait till some more. But I think they're definitely not as interesting as they were.
They're away to Chelsea next, so that'll be interesting.
And then play Arsenal after that. I mean, they won, but it's also how weird this season is. You know, like, I'll tell you something, guys. The lesson from watching the last episode of All or Nothing about the Spurs. So the 7th and the 8th episode, it's top TV production. You know, it's right before pandemic. Then pandemic hits, and you can see the level of the documentary significantly drops because they have less access and there's nothing going on. They even use footage from players' phones, and there is nobody in the stadium and this and that, and even the locker room looks weird. You know, we live in weird times. You know, that just reminded me that we're being robbed of pretty much like 60-70% of the exciting stuff that comes with football, that comes with Premier League football. So now look at Liverpool. They're trying so hard. They won the Champions League with the fans. Then there is a situation they might not even be able to win the title. Then they win the title without fans. The season just finished, and they have to go back like 3 weeks later and defend the title. I mean, and without the fans, and it's hard to concentrate without the fans. They just won a title without fans. You know, they just technically won everything. But it's so many variables that makes the whole experience chaotic in a way, and also you lose a little bit of that edge in the process. So I think it's more of that, and we'll see how it moves forward. But one thing about Leeds that I want to add to what you just said, the one thing I like about Bielsa is his loyalty. He kept the team that won the championship. He didn't really make any huge buys except of the guy from, I think,
the guy that gave up the penalty.
Who gave up the penalty. He trusts the same players who, you know, even pundits were shitting on. They were shitting on the Bamford, who was, you know, not very efficient as their striker, but they won with him.
He scored yesterday.
And he scored in this one, but, you know, he missed a lot of chances apparently in the championship. I don't know. I didn't watch championship, but I've heard those opinions that he was missing a lot of chances and that he should upgrade, that they'll definitely upgrade and buy someone, that they didn't. He's still trusting him.
But they did. They bought Rodrigo from Valencia, who will, I think, phase in. He was on the bench.
Yeah. No, I know. But
he was on the bench till he gave up that penalty.
Yeah, and then Bamford scored a goal, so why would you bench him? I don't think Bielsa will.
So that's your point? Did you give a point or did you give a recap of something? Like,
no, that's the point. That I like the fact that he's loyal to his team, and it reminds me of Sheffield United last year. So that could be a similar story, that he's rolling with the same team that advanced to the title, to the Premier League. He trusts those guys like Klich, the Polish guy, who it's an interesting story with him because he was a young talent in Poland. Then he got bought to Bundesliga team. Kaiserslautern, I think, was the team. Then he didn't play at all. He went to Holland, kind of rebuild himself. Then he went somewhere again, I think, to Bundesliga. It was Wolfsburg, and then he didn't play at all. And then he went to Leeds, and first he didn't play. Then Bielsa allowed him to play, and he's already like 26, 27, and he was always failing at this highest level. He was never really producing at the highest level, and Bielsa was the first one who kind of brought the best out of it, you know. So the story like that, he kind of recycles players who other people crossed out, and he lets them play in this weird system, this very unique system, and brings the best out of them. Klich scored a wonderful goal, third goal for Leeds. So, I mean, I like that.
He plays within the Leeds system or the Leeds budget, like, or is it both?
Both, although it's a big club, so they should be able to buy if they want to, I think.
I mean, I don't know. Like, after the virus, anybody's spending, you know? Everybody's being cautious. You're not going to make all that money at the gate. Or
they spent a little bit, Leeds. They went and bought a centre-back from Freiburg as well, Koch. and obviously Rodrigo from Valencia. But yeah, once their fans are allowed in, they've got a big fan base that will generate a fair bit of money for them.
All right. Yeah. When is the first match going to be in England where they get allowed fans in the Premier League?
October, I think, will be like a real reduced capacity.
Right.
They have fans in Germany this week.
Oh, okay. This week coming up?
I know the week just gone.
Oh, so I didn't even get to see any Bundesliga games. I gotta like pay attention to when they're gonna be.
Jude Bellingham scored on his debut for Dortmund. 17-year-old they signed from Birmingham.
The cup game, yeah. The cup. They played the cup games.
Duisburg, yeah.
Oh, so they weren't league games; they were cup games.
Cup games.
Yeah, they always start with the first round of the DFB Pokal, I think, the German Cup.
You know who else scored? Which is like Man U's fighting, or they. Listen, I don't want to overpay for Sancho, and then maybe it's not overpaying. Maybe he's worth it. He'll pay 10 years and pay all that money back. But I think it's a lot of money right now. But I like the fact that we have what's his name from Man United playing, I think, on Werner Bremer, and he scored this weekend for
Tati Chong.
Tahiti Chong, yeah. So, and then we're sending more players out on loan. So hopefully we could get something out of like these players playing in these other leagues and get some good players back for nothing. Like let the academy work for itself. People get some experience. So yeah. So that's what I'm hoping. Another big game this week. Chelsea. So everybody wanted to check out Frank Lampard open up his Christmas gifts in front of the world and watch them play. What did you guys think of this?
I think it was like the most misleading 3-1 you're likely to see. I was really impressed with the right wing back at Brighton, who used to be at Chelsea.
He was the best Chelsea player.
Yeah,
he was the best. I text what's his name, Neil. And I was like, Lampard is the best Chelsea player on the field, and he's like, yeah, I agree. Hey, he's killing it.
The reason they sold him was because they had Reece James coming through, and he scored a pretty good goal, to be fair to him.
Right. Yeah, Reece James is like, yeah, they sold him, and you're like, he's playing good, but look what I can do.
Well, here's the thing about Chelsea. If you win, the key is to win the games when you're not at your best, but because you have the right system in place and the right talent, you win those games, and that's what they did. I think the quality showed in the crucial moments that that they have better quality, especially when they pressed. And sometimes the Brighton players didn't know how to react to that pressing. It was interesting to watch how much Lampard is influenced by Mourinho, and he is. You can tell how the way he sets up the team. It's exactly Mourinho's style with a little bit tweak here and there, but he definitely is very, very inspired by Mourinho and his coaching so far. You can tell that he's using a lot of defensive schemes, a lot of pressing, then going back, letting them play the game, that the opponents then trying to counterattack, changing the pace of the game. I mean, in the first half, Brighton had the ball for most of the time.
All the time.
Yeah, and the one guy that was very impressive for me until he got injured was Lallana. I think he made a difference. I think he was fantastic. And I think people sleep on players like that because, listen, sometimes people sleep on players who are not first 11 players on a great team, but they still contribute. And Lallana contributed a lot in the season they won the Champions League, a little bit less last year. But he was an important squad player for the last 3-4 years for Liverpool. He wasn't the first choice. He wasn't the star. But when you go from the best team in Europe to Brighton, it's still pretty good, to get a player like that. And I think he was really, really good.
But it's just, I'm not even laughing because injuries are not funny, especially for the player. But it's just, I'm laughing at the irony of Lallana, who's injury prone, right? Like, there's games Lallana's in the lineup, and then by the time they blow the whistle, he's out the lineup. You know what I mean? For the start of the game. So it's like, I'm watching it, and I'm like, is this a joke when you see Lallana coming out of his first Brighton game with an injury? I haven't even checked up on the news to see how long he's going to be out, but that is so Lallana.
It was the same hamstring injury that kept him out of Liverpool last season. So it might be a lengthy one. Hamstrings, they don't heal quickly.
His don't. He needs to just like heal it just one long time, once and for all. Was he always coming back early or something? Feeling the pressure? Yeah, you can't fuck around with hamstrings.
It's too bad because he really played very well, and overall Brighton played well. But at the same time, that was a very Mourinho type performance for Chelsea. They were attacking the right moments. They actually could have scored more goals. So you look at the game, you feel the other team is having all the possession, and well, technically, if Chelsea used all their chances, this game would be like 4 or 5-1, you know, because they knew how to attack in the specific moments. They have the talent for it. Havertz has pace, and he knows how to. In one of the plays, he even came back and made a tackle. So he's definitely a big talent. Then Werner, I think his movement was fantastic in a lot of occasions. He didn't get enough service yet, but I think his movement was top class. And I think Jorginho was pretty good. Chelsea looks really, really strong. If they are able to win a game like that pretty convincingly, even with the mistake from their goalkeeper, another terrible mistake from Kepa, even with the fact that
I don't think it was terrible. That people
terrible.
score that goal.
You can't let this goal in. Come on.
People score that goal and people save that goal, but it wasn't terrible.
No, you have to do something with the ball. You have to at least punch it or something. You know?
I mean, it bounced right before. He almost pretty much got there before the ball, and that was the problem, because then it bounced after he landed in.
Bad read.
So what?
It's a bad read if you're a goalkeeper. If you read that the ball will, you know, I don't know what he was trying to do really in that occasion.
Save the ball.
Well, then you stay on the line and just save the goal.
Well, let me ask you a question. Look at this line. Can you guys see this?
Yeah.
Isn't this the weirdest formation ever? 4-2-2-2. Am I crazy, or does this?
That wasn't the formation. No, it was Loftus-Cheek was more
behind
Werner, yeah.
Mount was playing like half on the left, and Havertz was playing on the right, more advanced than Mount, actually, a little bit more advanced than Kante, and Jorginho played in the line, but one of them was going forward, the other one was staying back. Then you had Reece James more offensive, Alonso a little bit more defensive. Christensen played because Thiago Silva wasn't available. Christensen will not play for this team.
Oh, yeah? But he played good. He had a good game.
All right. He made one mistake when he was in the wrong place, but I don't believe in it. I don't think he's very good.
So if you think that they've still got like Chilwell and Pulisic to go into that as well.
And Ziyech.
Sure, yeah. And Ziyech.
Some people were shitting on Marcos Alonso. Did you think he had a bad game?
Typical Alonso. I mean, he's not a
defender.
He's not a Marcelo, that's for sure.
Right. Havertz. So Havertz, where did he really play? Next to Werner or behind him?
He played at right wing.
Yeah, but he plays on the inside. They like to do that with both their wingers.
Who
overlapping?
Say that again. They like to do that with both their wingers overlapping. Who?
Yeah.
Chelsea?
Yeah, well, they like to have the wingers playing tucked in with the fullbacks overlapping. So their wingers play on the inside.
So doesn't that kind of like kill what Havertz does, or not? It'll help him?
No, it just means he's harder to pick up because they don't know whether the central players need to pick him up or whether the fullback needs to pick him up. It creates teams problems. It's something fairly common though for teams to do in that 4-2-3-1 system.
All right, and then let's be honest. Like Havertz, I mean Loftus-Cheek, I love him from this first touch I ever seen him play for Chelsea as a sub. I think he's really talented. And then we were talking about him last week with Neil. You weren't here, but yeah, this wasn't great. This was not a good look. It was not sexy. He did not look like himself. So I wouldn't kill his career, but he's definitely has to like warm into this team. There's people.
I think when Pulisic and Ziyech are fit, he's not playing.
See, maybe he felt the pressure of that, and he's like, I got to do this now, and he was too nervous, and he kind of messed up.
Probably, it makes sense. Because Pulisic will play. He was their best player before the end of the season in the pandemic times. You know, he was their best player. So
I actually blame Mount for the Brighton Hove goal, because he didn't put any pressure on Trossard, who was I think the scorer. Yeah, he didn't put any pressure on him. He was right there. And it's like, and when that goal scored, Chelsea had been pinned for like a minute in their own half by Brighton Hove, and it's like, we're gonna blame the goalkeeper. Like, where is who's alleviating all this pressure, this ball being moved around in a swirling dervish around in the Chelsea area? Like, who's supposed to take control of this shit? That shot shouldn't even have happened, but you know, Kepa's gonna get blamed for everything. But you know, they Brighton Hove created a lot of pressure, and Chelsea didn't do much about it. And to only give up one goal and get 3 out of, like, if you on paper, like if I watched the game and somebody cut the TV off every time one of the teams scored, then at the end of the game it was like, all right, the game was 3-1. Who do you think won? I would have been like Brighton Hove.
Yeah, there was this one chance I think Dunk missed that he didn't close the pass from right behind before the goal, right?
Mm-hmm.
That would be 2-2.
Oh yeah, Dunk. Yeah.
That was a big chance.
Yeah, right back in the game.
Brighton looked solid. I mean, they were a good team at times. They beat us 3-0 last season, so it's not like they're a bad team.
They played good football.
Yeah, they beat Arsenal during pandemic times.
I like
Graham Potter's a good coach.
Yeah, I like Martin's style. Like, he'll go back to when a team beat Arsenal, but then say
they beat us 3-0.
But then Arsenal beats Fulham. It's like, it's just Fulham. It's just early in the season.
Fulham
but then you use the pass of another team to beat Arsenal as valid.
First, what did I say first, though? They beat us 3-0. Because they did. I mean, they did. That's why Pochettino got fired partially.
Right.
It was one of the nails to his coffin at Tottenham.
That was the game when Lloris messed up his arm, wasn't it?
Yeah. And with Fulham, you know, if we talk about Fulham, I mean, they're a classic yo-yo team. They go up, they go down, they go up, they go down. I see nothing in this team to give me a hope they might not get down.
Same with West Brom.
In this team, really, nothing.
You know what Fulham has? They have no answers. Like they're a classic. It's so funny, the margins of what makes you stay up and what makes you a mid-table team. It's like I'm watching them. It's one game, fine. I'm watching them playing against Arsenal, and I'm like, what's the difference? It's like, you don't have an Aubameyang. You know, you're Fulham. You don't have an Aubameyang. You know, somebody you can put the ball in the back of the net or just have that decisive moment.
But they overall are just poor team. They were very lucky to advance. It should be Brentford instead of them, but they advanced, and they didn't. Really
they won. They won the game.
Yeah, they won the game. They didn't really strengthen the team. I think they were sixth, like in championship at the table, the final table. So that they advanced from the 6th position. They didn't really strengthen the team.
They didn't strengthen the team because the last time they strengthened the team, they spent all their Premiership money.
They didn't really spend it. They just spent
They spent all the money. Fulham spent all their money last time they were here, and they got booted back down. So they're like, we're not going to spend all the money this time.
Yeah, they bought like guys like Schürrle and some other from big teams that didn't lose at all.
They're sort of starting to do that though. Like, they signed the goalkeeper from PSG, Areola, the backup keeper. They got Lamina on loan from us. They signed Kenny Tete, right back. From he's a Dutch guy. I can't remember what club he came from. So they're starting to bring players in, but I don't think they're good enough.
I think they have a chance to beat the record. I think Derby County from 2008 to finish. They finished 10 points at the end of the season. Derby County, I think 10 points.
Damn, you think Fulham is that bad?
Yeah, I think Fulham can beat that. Yeah.
I don't think West Brom have anything either, from what I've seen so far.
Oh yeah.
They have Polish guy Grosicki who didn't play. If he plays, he'll make a difference.
Yeah, West Brom lost to Leicester. Leicester kind of got in their ass, 3-0. And I warned you about Everton, and I said Newcastle made some good moves. You didn't believe it, and then Newcastle wins. They beat West Ham.
That was a bad game, that one, to watch. Like, both teams were bad. Right. I mean, West Ham hit the woodwork a couple of times as well. I think a 0-0 probably would have been fair in that game, to be honest. But Callum Wilson's a good finisher, so he'll win games.
West Ham makes you look so bad when you play them. Like, we played them. We look bad. I saw, like, even in the All or Nothing, I was watching, like, the Spurs play them after the restart. That West Ham just makes any team they play look bad. Like, even if they lose, we're going to make you look bad. Like, you're going to have the worst game of your season against us. And it doesn't matter who the coach is, Pellegrini or Moyes. It's like, it's the same players, and there's something weird about them. And even just going back to Newcastle, like Newcastle got so many players. I forgot that they had I'll tell you his name in a second.
Hendrick?
No, well, they got Hendrick from
Burnley.
From Burnley. So I knew they had him. But I forgot Carroll.
Oh, Carroll.
Like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, he's good for about 3 games a season, and then he's injured for the rest.
He's on that Lamella shit, that injury. They have the same injury table.
He was scoring a lot of goals for Newcastle the last time I was in London, which was in 2010.
Yeah,
2009 or 2010. 2010, and he was called to the English national team.
So imagine 10 years
ago. Yeah.
Imagine that body 10 years later, how it's going to hold up. It's not going to hold up as well as it did 10 years ago.
Yeah.
How old is this
Liverpool
guy?
paid for him 35 million.
Yeah, from Newcastle, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's still the most expensive English striker ever.
Hilarious. But
Until Harry Kane leaves Tottenham.
Dig. Straight dig.
We'll buy someone from Southampton soon again.
Nah, that's Liverpool's territory, bro.
No, we're buying
with
Wanyama. But you have our player Walker Peters, right? You like him?
Yeah, he's been good so far. He's a solid right back. He's when we beat Man City back at the end of last season, he defended Sterling superbly when we kept a clean sheet as well. So yeah, he's good. He's a definite upgrade on Cedric.
All right. So let's talk about some games that's coming up this weekend. We'll talk about you guys' teams. We'll talk about Manchester United, and we'll talk about who you guys got. Chelsea, Liverpool.
Chelsea.
I'm going for a draw. I'm going to sit on the fence.
I'm going to go for Liverpool. I think Chelsea's form at the beginning of the season is not going to be the form that they're going to have towards the middle and towards the end of the season. I think they got too many moving new parts, and they have to get it together. It's going to take a minute to get it together. And, it's one thing to have like fresh, brand new players that you bought. I know they have depth, but Liverpool is just a team, and they're the champions. And I think they can pull this off for now. Maybe later on in the year, they won't be able to beat Chelsea, but if they can beat Chelsea, it's right now. So I'm going to go Liverpool. Because Havertz looked discombobulated. Even when he sat on the bench, when they took him out, he was like, what was I doing out there? How do you play football again? I got to adjust to this league. Like, he had questions, So he's going through some mental difficulty. Like, he's got to figure this out. Werner was on point. He's just running routes, using his speed, causing problems. So, he's just a born striker anywhere. So, but Chelsea can. Let's see what maybe Chelsea is the motivation that Liverpool needs. You know what I mean? And Chelsea
interesting game.
Yeah, and Chelsea did beat them at the end of the season last year or 2 weeks ago. So, maybe they'll give them some impetus and some revenge factor. So who did you say you thought would win this league?
I said a draw. I think it'd be like a 1-1 or a 2-2.
So I'm Liverpool win. You're Chelsea, Liverpool draw. And Martin is straight up Chelsea.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Man United, Crystal Palace. I'm just going to go Man United because we got our whole team.
Yeah.
And so let's, hopefully we'll handle that. All right.
Although Palace plays you well usually.
They do.
They give you trouble.
Yeah, they do. I just think it's time, if we're going to be this team that we want to be, to take care of teams like this. And I think we'll be fine. It's just later on the season and what we're going to do in the transfer market, or who we're going to bring up from the youth system. It's what's going to define us. So, but I expect at least to start out with a win. Who is Spurs playing? Let me see where you guys got. Oh, so what do you two guys think of you two playing each other?
Draw.
Damn. For real?
Yeah.
You don't think you could beat Southampton?
I think we can beat them, but I think we might beat them. But I'll play it safe from what I've seen after first game. It didn't look very well. Let's see if he implements changes. If he does, we can beat Southampton. We can also lose to Southampton because it's a team we lost to last year away. So it can go either way. But I think draw is the most realistic result.
Yeah, I mean, you guys are going to play into their hands. Like Crystal Palace laid off them. Right? Is that what you're saying, Lee?
Yeah.
And you do better against the more aggressive teams?
Yeah, we played better against teams who want the ball, but Mourinho's smart and he's got that in his locker to give us the ball. He might come and do classic Mourinho, sit off. I mean, it wouldn't be pretty, but it would be the best way of getting a result from us.
Martin, what's the best way for Spurs to be effective? What style?
That's a good question. I mean, the most effective we were at the peak of Pochettino's era, where it was interchangeable passing, creative football. Right now, we're not playing that way. We're trying something different. I mean, utilizing wings, not winks, with G, wings will be the best way to win at Southampton. Let Son create. Maybe Mora will join him. I think Son is right now the most informed, the most dangerous player, and I hope he will be the guy to deliver. We have to play through wings and let them create, and have the guys behind coming and joining them in the attacks and creating advantages in the middle, and hopefully finishing when they play into the middle. Because some can also cut and shoot, but then the guy like Ali is crucial. I just don't know if he can deliver. Hopefully Doherty will be in better shape, because he looked gassed in the second half. He looked like he had no condition whatsoever.
Oh well, just been that kind of year. But also another thing I was going to tell you about Doherty. Like Doherty might look good on a complete team like Wolves, where it's all together, but not good on a team that's not a complete team like Spurs. Did you guys finish? You guys finished above Wolves last year, right? Yeah,
in the last game we went above them in the very last game of the season.
Yeah, I mean Spurs is a step up in quality.
Just if you have to think as well, though, like he's not had much of a pre-season with Spurs, and they play a completely different system to Wolves. Wolves play a very specific 3-4-3, and he was like the right wing back in that. Whereas at Spurs, he's playing Mourinho's traditional 4-2-3-1. It's a completely different job, and he hasn't had that much time to learn how to play in that system, I don't think.
Right.
So I think he'll come good. He's a solid player.
So who do you think, Wolves or Man City next week,
City.
this weekend?
Yeah, I think City, but I think Wolves will make them work for it.
Yeah. I mean, City's got revenge, because I think Wolves beat them definitely once, but maybe twice last season.
I think City will win the title this year. They're my candidate, number one to win the title. I think they're on a mission, and they will deliver, because the way the season ended for them, both in the Champions League and in the league, was extremely disappointing. And I feel there are too many very, very good players on this team to not react, and strong-willed players like De Bruyne. There are strong characters on this team, and let's see how Ake plays. Maybe Ake is the guy. Who knows?
No, he's not. Here's the thing. You know who's fatigued on this team? I think. I don't know. I might have moved out of the camera shot. I think when I look at Pep, he doesn't have it like he used to. Like the desire to be a winner, you know, like, I don't know, like the passionate Pep who used to like drag his team along with him, which even if you have a good team, you still need. I just don't know if, you know, how time and life and success changes you.
I agree.
I think it's watered down his passion a little bit. That's what I'm saying. And without that extra edge of passion, that makes me doubt City.
I agree. I'll give you two counter arguments. Argument number one, the most important.
Mm-hmm.
He might have lost a little bit of a passion because technically they were banned from the Champions League for 2 years, and somehow miraculously the ban was overturned. So that gives him extra fuel. Now they'll be back in the Champions League, and they can be back in the Champions League again, and they can win the Champions League this year. They can try to win the Champions League. So that's the number one argument, you know, that they were dead in the water, because if they're not in the Champions League, some of the players like De Bruyne might have left, you know. So he was facing a possibility of this project dissolve.
But even after the ban news, they didn't have still the best results.
No, but I'm saying looking towards this season, you know, like they're in the Champions League and they can be in the Champions League. So that's a huge lift. Second huge lift is most likely Messi will join them next year. So they want to make sure that he joins the team in the right spirit. Mm-hmm. So that will kind of carry the team on, knowing that Messi will join them.
All right.
And I think that's a motivation for Guardiola too. Like, you know, he knows that he has to have a good season. Otherwise, Messi might
stay at Barcelona.
Yeah, Messi might be like, hey, you know, I don't want to do it.
All right. What do you think, Lee, about City overall?
They're my choice for the league as well. I just think the quality they've got, they should be hungrier as well. I can't look past them.
All right. Aubameyang signed a new contract with Arsenal, so that's fine for them. He's a leading goal scorer, and he goes out there and he gets it. And, you know, that's like a razor without an edge.
Yeah, it's been rumored for a couple of weeks now. So it's
right.
Yeah, Grealish is the other one. 5-year deal today.
So you think that means he'll never move, or?
No, it just means they'll get more money for him when he does, but it won't be this summer, I don't think.
All right.
It depends. If they start the season poorly and they're in the relegation zone and really playing bad football, I think they might let him go in the winter. But maybe they'll be better this year, because there are so many bad teams this season. Like when I look at the Premier League, both West Brom and Fulham, as we mentioned, are not good at all. And then some of the other teams, you know, you have Villa and a couple of other teams that are not that great. West Ham, it doesn't look very good.
Well, West Ham just saw off Charlton in the Cup, in the Carabao Cup. Fraser just scored for Spurs.
You'd expect West Ham to win that one. I think Haller got both the goals as well.
Yeah. Haller better start scoring like when it counts in the Premier League and not just, you know, in these league games. And we talked about PSG. Martin was hitting me up about PSG and that fight with Marseille.
Yeah, that was crazy.
So did anybody? Yeah, I know. And he goes off the field. Well, let's go back to one game. I think VAR might be better this year, and only because of two things. Because there was something that happened in this PSG game, and something that happened, I think it was in the Crystal Palace game.
Walker Peters got his red card taken back to the red.
Yeah, and the ref went off the field, looked at the thing, and came back on and was like, no, it's a yellow, my bad. And I like the way that Walker Peters did, even though he was innocent, didn't have this crazy outcry that would have, like, even if the ref went off the field and looked at it, he might have been like, fuck that guy. Like, I think Walker Peters, like, took that red card on the chin, stayed on the field, didn't act up. The dude went and checked it, and he came back with the correct response. So I like that for VAR. And then in this game, PSG Marseille, like, the ref is sending players off, and then somebody's like, hey man, I think you better check out this Neymar thing. I think he just slapped the shit out of somebody. And we'll tee it up for you. And then he walks up the field and looks at it. Neymar thinks he's safe. I don't know why players think you can't get away with nothing. There's cameras everywhere. Give up. There's nothing. If you're a football player in the 2000s, who's gotten away with anything?
Have you seen what Neymar's come out and said, though, afterwards?
Right. So has anybody seen footage of that, of the guy? Did he say, call him a monkey? Is there any actual thing online?
I haven't seen it, but it's definitely what he's accused him of.
That's what Neymar says. That's what Neymar says.
Right. I know, but you want to make sure it's true. It's so. Did they kneel before the game?
I'm not sure. I didn't see the start of it.
Yeah, I didn't see the start of it. So that's so ironic for them to kneel in solidarity of Black Lives Matter, and then a player's like, "Hey, monkey." That's great. But the kneeling is working. But yeah, the PSG said, I read an article where they're like combing the footage and they're looking for it. But hopefully Neymar is not like making this shit up. You know? Or maybe hopefully he is. I don't know which scenario is best.
Mm-hmm.
PSG have lost first 2 games of the season now as well. They lost to Lens before that as well.
Yeah, but they were without all the best players because they
were tested positive, didn't they?
They tested positive, like Mbappe, Di Maria, Neymar, and someone else. So all the best players, pretty much.
Here's the crazy thing. I saw the footage of Marseille arriving back home at the airport. It looked like they just won a championship. There was red flares. Like their fans were celebrating outside, like where they land to get back to town. I don't know how far is Marseille from Paris? Do they need to take a flight?
Or they can get a flight or a train. It's quite a distance, but it's a big rivalry because they're just traditionally the 2 biggest clubs in the country. And I took a train between the 2 in the Euros in 2016.
Oh yeah, how long was that?
In the early 90s, Marseille was what PSG is right now. With Bernard Tapie, they were the high-spending, cocky, rich team that was supposed to rule Europe for years. They finally won 1 Champions League. I think they were disqualified for bribing for 1 season as well. But there, at some point, I remember, because they played Polish champions, Lech Poznań, and Lech Poznań had a very, very good team. It was, I think, last 16. And Polish team beat them 3-1. They had Beckenbauer, I think, as a coach, and they had Rudi Feller, Chris Waddle, and some other major players. So Lech Poznań won, 3-2. They won 3-2 in Poznań, and playing a super exciting football. I was super excited to watch the second game. And in the second game, they hosted a dinner for the Polish champions, and they all got sick and lost 6-1. And it was proven by the Polish team doctor that they got poisoned before the game by Marcel. So Marcel was not only bribing referees, but also poisoning the opposite, because they did it a couple other teams, remember, in the early 90s. Yeah.
Okay, it was 92, 93 was the season they won the Champions League.
Yeah, Basil Boli scored a winner against Milan. Yeah.
Wow. Well, they celebrated like it was 92. Like just when those players got back to the airport, they act like there was flares and fans. It was like watching people celebrate outside Anfield after Liverpool won. It's crazy. But that game meant a whole lot.
No, it's a lot of ambition. Listen, they had, I think, Drogba, right? Before Drogba went to Chelsea, he played for Marseille.
Yeah, he was at Marseille, yeah.
They're very ambitious. They have, huge tradition of hiring top level players. So if they can beat PSG, it's a big deal because they feel like PSG is in the place they are supposed to be.
Yeah, they hate PSG. They are very jealous and envious of PSG's position in the world football right now and in France. So, yeah, this is huge. I could tell. Is there anything else you guys want to talk about before we bounce? Because we're at that point.
Well, I can only add, because I was just writing a story about it and did some research that David Beckham is delivering in Miami first season. He got Matuidi. Matuidi already played first game. now got Higuain. They can add one more guy probably. They will be a very nice destination for players for the next upcoming years, because they're building stadium for $1 billion. They're building stadium in Miami.
Soccer stadium, straight.
Yeah, soccer stadium. Yeah, for $1 billion. There will be some shops and restaurants and clubs as a part of it. So it's like a business venture, but it's a typical soccer stadium. And David Beckham, when he's the best businessman of all time from former players, because when he signed the deal with the MLS, he not only made $250 million in 5 years, because he made $6 million from Galaxy plus all the sponsorship deals. So he made $250 per 5. That was his deal with the MLS. But he also had a little clause in his contract that he can have an MLS team of his choice when he retires for $25 million. And he used that, and now Inter Miami is worth $600 million. So,
all right. Are they winning?
Huh?
Not yet.
No, it's the first season. Nobody cares. It's the first season. They're getting solid foundation for being a really legit team.
Yeah, you can't get relegated. So first season you can just build without the pressure of going down.
I mean, LAFC got right in there when they started playing.
Yeah, they did. Still haven't won anything. They're like this. Unfortunately, they're like the Tottenham of MLS.
Atlanta were pretty good quickly as well.
Say that again.
Atlanta were pretty good quickly as well.
Yeah, some teams, like, depending on how you organize the whole thing, you get into it. Like, I hope
you look at like Minnesota were dog shit from the start.
Yeah,
but they're better now. And Atlanta are one of the worst teams in the East. Like, they hired Frank de Boer after they won the title, because Martino went to coach Mexico, and under the board, they're constantly.
Yeah, it didn't go well.
And fans are furious. They want the board gone.
Almost as bad as his spell at Palace.
Yeah, it's really bad.
I mean, his spell at Palace was 4 games, and he was out.
I think it was 2 games actually.
No, I think it was 4 losses, and he was out. Then they bring in Hudson, who's there now, and he lost 4 games, but they kept him, and they haven't really been in a relegation battle, even though you expect them to. So, and I like their guy Eze that they bought. Like, they brought him in.
He's a quality player.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, that guy looked like he could play. Like, he didn't get a chance to do much, but I was like, oh, you got to watch out for that guy.
He's not fully fit, which is why they couldn't start him. They said he was only about 70% fit, but he tore it up in the championship last year at QPR, so he's definitely one to watch.
Where's he from? Is he English?
Yeah.
Yeah, he looked like he got like a lot of swag and creativity and style. Like, I don't know how hard he plays, but yeah, you got to watch that one. He could embarrass you.
Yeah, he was one of the best players in the championship last season.
All right, Eze. I see you. Anybody else got anything? Lee, anything special about your team? Any threats to Martin about this weekend? Like anything?
No, I mean, I'll just take anything from the game as long as we don't lose.
So will Martin, apparently.
I'll take the draw for the start, sure. I prefer to win, but I'm being realistic. I didn't like what I've seen. I mean, that was the worst opening game, the most disappointing since I watched Tottenham.
Oh, you think Højbjerg will play?
Maybe he'll be the guy to break down the team for us on the pregame meeting. This is how we play. Tell the secrets.
So what is Mourinho's plan? To buy one player from each team from the season before, so he can get a breakdown?
I mean, they technically have one of ours in Walker Peters. Let's see who's better spy.
Yeah, let's see. This is the game of spies. Who's the best spy?
And because I think Dele Alli bumped into his car in the car park, as we as part of the documentary, Walker Peters can have an extra motivation in this one.
Oh yeah, that's hilarious. I remember that. Well,
it's in like one of the first few episodes, wasn't it?
Yeah. After I get off with you guys, I'm gonna finish watching this the end of this episode.
Yeah,
I'm
like a third of the way through the final episode.
And this is the final episode.
The final episode is kind of the lowest quality of production because of the pandemic, but I saw there's another documentary on Amazon about Leeds United. I'm gonna check.
I've watched that one.
I haven't finished watching that one. I actually started watching it last season, But yeah, I'm gonna go back and finish watching that.
Yeah, I've watched all the Leeds one. It's really, really interesting. Definitely worth watching.
All right. And it's with Bielsa. Yeah, I saw a bunch of it. I saw when he got accused of spying and how he handled that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's all in there. It's all good fun.
Yeah. All right, guys. Lee, you want to plug anything? You got any outside shows there in England?
Yeah, got a few coming up. But not for a few weeks. But I've got some. I'm just doing some small ones to keep sharp, and then I've got some decent bookings in October and November.
Yeah. I did 2 shows this week, and or last week, and I was really relaxed about the second one, the first one, because I wasn't as rusty as I was months before, and I have a set that I can do now, and then the show after I was like listening to the set from before, and like just everything was coming back to me faster. I was retaining things faster and also expanding on what I already had. So Saturday night show felt really good. And I got one more show. It's in, what month is this show? So Mark Hayes. And that show is, where did he mess? Oh, the 23rd. So is that next week? Next week, Wednesday? Or the week after? But yeah, I thought I was retired, but felt good. Feels good when an outside show goes well. And then you throw in some new material and then connect your old material with the new material. It's a good feeling. So I guess
feeling like a comedian again.
Yeah, I guess I'm back. All right. So don't worry, y'all. I'm back. I'm not quitting for now. I thought I was out the game, but it was definitely a good feeling. Especially now that I think about it. But if you guys are watching this on YouTube, like and subscribe, and smash the like button. You got to say that, and tell your friends about this. Lee, what's your handles?
Just at Lee Hudson. That's it. Comedy.
At Lee Hudson Comedy. All right. Way to mess that up and not make that clear. Appreciate that. Martin, what's your handles?
It's Martin_Harris LA for Instagram and Martin W Harris for Twitter.
So you two can like bang on each other game day.
No, actually, I never have a beef with Southampton. I actually always liked Southampton. So
you want to beat them?
I want to beat them, but I don't hate them.
All right. So I'll give you time. Thank you, Andrew Brungardt, and everybody be safe. Enjoy the weekend. Be smart. 1.